Alright, so today is April 22nd, and I thought I'd do a little update on my planking. And as you can see here, I am making some progress. And it's going reasonably well. I don't know if you can see this or not, but as we move on down the side of the boat, that curve is coming out. It's flattening out as we go back there, which is exactly what we wanted to happen. I am cutting, normally there's 3 boards or 3 planks in a strake in a row, but like here on this last one, the previous strake that I did, you can see there's a short 2x8 in there. And the reason for that was to stagger the joints so we don't have the joints all falling in the same spot. I think I mentioned earlier you're supposed to have three planks between joints, and I wasn't, like I said, I'm not in 2 frames between joints, and like I said, I'm not always able to do that. Here in this case, there's only 2 boards, and then there's only 1 frame. And again here, oh no, it isn't either. This one's got 2. But anyway, the reason for those 3 are those that 6-foot piece up here in the bow was to spread those joints apart. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get a 6-foot board in there, bend it in there, but it did. It went all right. And you can see in a lot of cases I'm still using lag bolts to, you know, all these were lag bolts were run in there. It's actually getting a little easier now as I'm getting up higher. Not quite sure why that is, but it is. Occasionally I'm having a little bit of a crack. I had one right there. You can see that underneath to the left of that clamp there. There's a crack there, but it doesn't go all the way through, so I'll probably wind up grinding that out at some point and filling it with thickened epoxy. But it only goes about not quite halfway in, so I'm not going to worry about it. You know, this isn't, we aren't having to cut these for water tightness. These are all just structural. And then back here I've had a few cracks. This where the transom connects to the last full frame there. You can see the very top one's got a little bit of a crack in it. There's a little bit of crack in the second one from the bottom. And there's a little bit of crack around that knot up there. Now, am I worried about those? No, not really. Once the plywood gets, and I'm gonna epoxy the plywood onto this, so once this gets smooth, surface gets smoothed and the plywood goes on, that plywood's gonna tie everything together and it's gonna be very, very strong. So, yeah, it's going all right. It's kind of interesting now that you got some planking in here, so the interior is starting to feel a little bit more like, you know, rooms in a boat rather than a skeleton floating in the air. You're starting to get an idea of the size, of the feel of what the interior cabins are going to be like. Interesting. But it is slow going. I'm getting basically 1 strake done a day. So then I'll do 2 strakes here, and then I'll go over the other side and I'll do 2 strakes over there. Switch back and forth to keep the loading on the hull equal. And I haven't been getting just a whole lot else done. Of course, it is springtime, so there are other jobs that need doing too, and so I have been doing other things other than bolt work, but I've been trying to get a strake on every day. And for the most part, I've succeeded. One day I was sick and I didn't get a whole lot. Well, I got 2 boards on, I guess, 2 planks on. That wasn't so bad. But as you can see, I started at the bow, cut my notch or my rabbet out for the planks, and I'm getting better at that too. I'm using my, I think I talked about that before, using my oscillating tool to cut into the plunge into the wood, and then chiseling it out, and then using this rasp on the grinder to clean it up. And that's actually, I'm getting better at that, so that's going faster now too. That was kind of a pain to do, but you can see all these big chunks laying down here. These are all chunks out of that rabbit that I chiseled out. And this side is progressing along as well. Like I said, I'm doing them at the same time. I'll do 2 boards there, and that'll put me 1 board short on this side. So then I'll put 2 on this side, that'll put me 1 board short on the other side. So we're evening out the pressures on the boat as we go. Yeah. Interesting stuff. It is starting to get a little old. It's been a couple weeks or better now, whatever, since I started doing it. It is starting to get a little old, but and I might, if the weather ever gets nice enough to do work outside, I might spend a few days doing some work outside too. But and this little jewel here has been extremely beneficial. I built this little tray. It's got a couple pins that, couple dowel pins, I don't know if you can see that go down into this tubing. And here shortly, I'm gonna have to raise the platform level up again, and I'll have to make a couple of pipes or whatever, some little bracket to extend this up, because this really is handy. I mean, it's got all my drills and my chisel in there, and some different bits, and my oscillating tool, and I'm waxing those screws as they go in. Turn my little jar of wax, I melted wax into a little jar. And of course at this point I'm to the, at least up here on the bow, I'm having to use longer clamps, these pipe clamps up here. And actually they probably work a little better than, I use these Irwin bar clamps when I can. They're just handier to use, lighter and easier to move around. But these pipe clamps really put a lot of nice clamping force on it. You don't have to edge set these too terrible much. I mean, you really can't. These 2x8s, you're not going to edge set these real well. And I'm really not worried about getting perfectly, no gaps whatsoever. I mean, there isn't much of a gap there, but I'm not really worried about getting that perfect, because again, glue's going to go on here, it'll fill the cracks, and then the plywood, is gonna, yeah. So we don't really care if there's little gaps here and there. And again, where I was meeting my 2 boards, sometimes I got a little bit bigger gap in there, but yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I put this one on the wrong way, just who knows. Normally I paint the inside with the wood preservative, copper naphthenate, but this one I put on the wrong way, so then I had to go inside and do it. And then you can see later on, I put another one on right where it met that one, so I'm sure I saw the green out and just subconsciously went ahead and put that next one on upside down too. It doesn't really matter, they're tapered, so it doesn't really matter which way they go on, but yeah, they don't need to be treated out on this side, because this is all going to get planed and sanded, faired, and then the plywood goes over it, so it's going to get glued onto it, so you really don't even want the copper naphthenate on the outside, but it's there, so it won't hurt anything. This copper naphthenate, when it's dried, you can glue it and paint it and whatnot, so it doesn't really have much of an effect on coatings that cover it. But anyway, so that's my update today, April 22nd.